Donald Trump just held a disastrous press conference at the NATO summit at The Hague in the Netherlands. He was blowing up at reporters based on the latest intelligence from the Pentagon and CENTCOM that was leaked to the press, showing that the attacks on the Iranian nuclear facilities were not all that successful. Donald Trump has also been trying to cite Israeli intelligence, and he's been putting out statements on behalf of Israel's intelligence saying, you see, Israel claims that we knocked out the Iranian nuclear sites. But what Donald Trump was doing here at this disastrous press conference is he was trying to attack the reporters and saying the reporters, by saying that the United States did not do a successful military strike on the Iranian nuclear facilities, you are making our pilots feel bad and you're making them sad and you're really being offensive to the troops by reporting on the leaks that their strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities were not successful. So you must hate the troops. That's what he and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio continued to reiterate during this disastrous press conference here. Watch this as Trump says, you really should just be proud of those pilots and you should shut up and stop asking questions about whether or not the operation was successful. Here, play this clip.
We shouldn't have issued a report until they did, but we've gotten the information. I think Pete said it better than you can say it. And you know, you should be proud, you, especially you, should be proud of those pilots, and you shouldn't be trying to demean them.
No,
those pilots flew at great risk, a big chance that they'd never come back home and see their husbands or their wives. Let me just tell you, you and NBC, fake news, which is one of the worst, and CNN, New York Times are all bad. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. You know what? You should be praising those people instead of trying to find some. By getting me, by trying to go and get me, you're hurting those people. They were devastated.
And then next you'll see Donald Trump makes up a fake conversation with the fighter pilots. And he says, I got this call from the fighter pilots and they were really sad. And they said, why is the media reporting that our strikes were not successful? And this has hurt their feelings. You're hurting their feelings, media. You're hurting the fighter pilots. Yeah. Do you think fighter pilots who fly B-2s are calling up Donald and saying, Donald, I'm really sad right now? What a clown show this is. Here, play this clip.
Stated, you know, I got a call from Missouri, great state, that I won 3 times by a lot. And I got a call that the pilots and the people on the plane were devastated because they were trying to minimize the attack. And they all said it was hit. But we don't think it was really maybe hit that badly. And they were devastated. They put their lives on the line, and then they have, and I'm not referring to you, but real scum come out and write reports that are as negative as they could possibly be. It should be the opposite. You should make them heroes and heroines. You should make them really people that they were so devastated when they heard this news. And you know what they said? One of them, I spoke to one of them, he said, sir, we hit the site. It was perfect. It was dead on. Because they don't understand fake news, because they have a normal life, except they have to fly very big, very fast planes. But it's a shame. You should be making them heroes. All right.
Then Donald Trump talks about how he is proud and it is his honor to allow Iran to sell cheap oil to China. And this is going to be a great deal for China and Iran. What are we even talking about? You're saying that the United States is not going to enter into a deal with Iran to denuclearize them. And now Iran and China get a great oil deal together. Are you hearing this? Here, play this clip.
Go ahead. Yeah. Blue dress.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yesterday, you said China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran.
Yeah.
Are you giving up on your maximum pressure campaign? Because
With
there's
who?
sanctions right now.
With who?
On Iran.
No, look, they just had a war. The war was fought. They fought it bravely. I'm not giving up. They're in the oil business. I mean, I could stop it if I wanted. I could sell China the oil myself. I don't want to do that. They're going to need money to put that country back into shape. We want to see that happen. No, if they're going to sell oil, they're going to sell oil. We're not taking over the oil. We could have, you know. I used to say with Iraq, keep the oil. I could say it here, too. We could have kept the oil. No, China is going to want to buy oil. They can buy it from us. They can buy it from other people. But you're going to have to put that country back into shape. It desperately needs money. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Because then a reporter asked Donald Trump, that's odd what you're saying. So are you interested in restarting negotiations with Iran for their denuclearization, right? Wasn't that kind of the point of this? And Donald Trump goes, I'm not. The Iranians fought. They're brave. I trust them. Why would I want to do a deal with them? Why would we talk about denuclearization? The war is over. We're done. We're done here. What? Play this clip.
Can I ask you, are you interested in restarting negotiations with Iran? And if so, have they
So our people, Marco could answer this, but our people are not, I'm not. The way I look at it, they fought, the war's done, and I could get a statement that they're not going to go nuclear. We're probably going to ask for that, but they're not going to be doing it. But they're not going to be doing it anyway. They've had it. Now, maybe someday in the future we'll want that. But I've asked Marco, do you want to draw, I just asked him the question as we were walking on the stage, do you want to draw up a little agreement for them to sign? Because I think we can get them to sign it. I don't think it's necessary. Marco, do you want to talk?
Then Donald Trump is asked, is there any indication from U.S. intelligence that Iran was able to move any of the nuclear material out of the facilities? Here, watch his response. Let's play it.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've made clear your position on what impact the strikes had. I wanted to ask you what is next with Iran. For instance, is there any indication from U.S. intelligence that Iran was able to move any material?
No, we just the opposite. We think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move. And if you knew about that material, it's very hard and very dangerous to move. It's called, in many people, they call it dust, but it's very, very heavy. It's very, very hard to move. And they were way down, they're 30 stories down. They're literally 30, 35 stories down underground.
You think we got it all?
Oh yeah, we think we think it's covered with granite, concrete, and steel.
Can I ask you, are you interested in restarting?
Okay, do you notice how he said, we think? We think right there. Well, I'll tell you what the Pentagon's damage assessment says and what separately CENTCOM's damage assessment says. And it says that these facilities were hit, they were damaged, but they were certainly not destroyed, and that Iran will be able to restart any nuclear ambitions in the next few months. That's our own damage assessment. Now, also, Donald Trump canceled a bipartisan briefing in Congress between the Trump regime officials and the House and the Senate, where they would share that intelligence. But the Trump regime blocked that indefinitely. Why would they block that indefinitely? Because they're covering up that it was not a successful operation. Next, a reporter asked Donald Trump, you promised that there would be peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. So was that sarcastic? And you'll hear Donald Trump goes, of course that was sarcastic. Of course it was. And he goes, yeah, it was just harder to deal with Putin and harder to deal with Zelensky. He has to both sides it than I thought. And then Donald Trump goes, but look at what I've done. I've made peace in the Middle East. We ended a war in Iran, 30 years of war I just ended. No, you didn't. What are you talking about? Then he says, I stopped the war in Rwanda. You don't know. Then he goes and says, I should get credit for ending the wars in Serbia. The hell? Then he goes, I should get credit, remember this one, for the India and Pakistan ceasefire. He goes, I dangled trade in front of India and Pakistan. They were going to go to nuclear war with each other, and they stopped going to nuclear war because of me. I did it. I stopped the Pakistan India nuclear war. And I'm sure you've seen all of my MeidasTouch broadcasts where I've shown the India foreign minister and India's prime minister Modi saying Trump had nothing to do with this at all. It was a bilateral discussion between India and Pakistan. Donald Trump didn't dangle trade in front of us. There's not even a trade deal right now between the United States and India. Donald Trump just goes there on the international stage. He makes a fool of the United States. So no wonder we see see Canada and the EU entering into their own defense agreements, and why this whole NATO summit, Donald Trump may think he looks strong and tough, but it was all of the nations just kind of keeping the United States at the side while the other NATO nations figure out their new arrangements without the U.S. But here's Donald Trump taking credit for stopping every war in the past 50 years. Listen to him. It's insane. Play this clip.
Mr. President, Johannes Petra from Austrian National Television.
How are you?
You once said that you would end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. You later said that sarcastically.
Well, of course it was sarcastic.
But you've now been in office for 5 months and 5 days. Why have you not been able to end the Ukraine war?
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars. I mean, look, we just ended a war in 12 days that was simmering for 30 years, frankly. We ended Rwanda and the Congo. It's coming to sign the documents. We've already signed basic documents, but they're coming, I think, to the White House on Friday. We ended Serbia was going to go at it. But maybe the most important of all, India and Pakistan. And that wasn't whether or not they may someday have nukes like we're talking about in the Middle East, like we're talking about with Israel and Iran. This is they have nuclear weapons. I ended that with a series of phone calls on trade. I said, look, if you're going to go fighting each other, it was getting very bad. You know how bad that last attack was. It was really bad. If you're going to go fighting each other, we're not doing any trade deal. No, you have to do a trade deal. I said, we're not doing any trade deal. And in fact, I had the general, who was very impressive. The general from Pakistan was in my office last week. Prime Minister Modi is a great friend of mine. He's a great gentleman. He's a great man. And I got them to reason. I said, we're not doing a trade deal if you're going to fight. And if you're going to fight each other, we're not doing a trade deal. And you know what? They said, no, I want to do the trade deal. We stopped the nuclear war. Go ahead.
Then Donald Trump continues to talk about, the language that he's using shows he has no clue what he's even saying, how the United States was able to stop Iran's nuclear program. But notice what Donald Trump says. He goes, the Iranians knew we were coming. So if they knew we were, this is his logic. If they knew we were coming in advance, why would they move the uranium out? If they knew we were coming, they would clearly keep the uranium in there and let us blow up the facilities. This is what he says. Play this clip.
And even get down. The whole thing is collapsed in a disaster. And I think all of the nuclear stuff is down there because it's very hard to remove. And we did it very quickly. When they heard we were coming, it was, you can't move it. Very hard, very dangerous, actually, to move too. And they also knew we were coming, so I don't think too many people want to be down there knowing we're coming. With the bunker busters, as we call them, we're the only ones that have them. We have the best equipment, best nuclear equipment, and we have the best equipment in the world. And by the way, we can't forget our submarine, which was out there, submarines actually, but submarine was out there, we shot.
We live in an environment that our biology was never designed for. EMFs, artificial light, seed oils, microplastics, endocrine disruptors, chronic stress. Now these modern assaults, they disrupt our cellular signaling, negatively impacting gut health and accelerating aging. Armra Colostrum revives cellular signaling, bolstering our health from within to defend against everyday threats. Colostrum is nature's first whole food with over 400 bioactive nutrients that work at the cellular level to reactivate your body's innate capacity to regenerate and thrive. Are you ready to reclaim your health? Look, I love Armra Colostrum. I know you will too. It has helped me so much. We've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/Meidas or enter Meidas to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/Meidas. Tryarmra.com/Meidas.
And you have Donald Trump continuing to attack the media like Katie Collins from CNN for asking questions about the damage to the nuclear facilities. And Donald Trump goes, you really need to be apologizing to our soldiers. Say you're sorry. Say you're sorry to say thank you to me. Say sorry to our soldiers. Here, play this clip.
Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Wait till you hear this question. You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions.
Next, Donald Trump says he doesn't think it's necessary to have any deals with Iran at all. He goes, maybe we'll have him sign a little piece of paper. I don't know. I don't think we need any deals. Here, play this clip.
Sounds like the door is open, but you're in no rush. Is that right? Sounds like the door is open. But
I'll tell you what, look, we're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. The only thing we'd be asking for is what we were asking for before about we want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. I said Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come, and so I don't feel very strongly about it. If we got a document, wouldn't be bad. We're going to meet with them, actually. We're going to meet with them. Yeah.
Next, Donald Trump attacks the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. Donald Trump basically says that he's an idiot. So just Donald Trump, just think about this. He's on the international stage. He's speaking at a NATO summit, and he's calling the chairman of the Federal Reserve in the United States an idiot. Do you think that's helpful to having the United States be the world's reserve currency? Do you think that brings stability to the United States at all? Do you think that? I don't think so. And then Donald Trump lies and says that he's already brought in $15 trillion to the United States. $15 trillion, he says he's brought in. The entire United States GDP is around $23 or $24 trillion. Where have you brought in this $15 trillion from? But Donald Trump's a fraud. He's a criminal fraudster, right? He's a criminal. He's a felon. He commits business fraud. He was found civilly liable for fraud as well. He's also a sexual abuser. He was found liable for sexual abuse. But in his civil cases and the criminal case, it is that he makes things up, right? In the civil case, he makes up fake valuations. He says something's worth billions when it's worth millions. And he's just making up $15 trillion. It's not a real number. Play this clip.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. You were criticizing
Where are you from?
Bloomberg News.
Oh, Bloomberg. That's wonderful.
You were criticizing the Federal Reserve Chair before coming to this summit.
Yeah, I think he's terrible.
I was wondering if you've begun interviewing different candidates for the Fed pick.
Yeah, I know within 3 or 4 people who are going to pick. I mean, he goes up pretty soon, fortunately, because I think he's terrible. We have no inflation. We have a tremendous economy. Hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money is pouring in. Factories are being built because they don't want to.
And as Donald Trump is saying that, we also got word for the chairman of the Federal Reserve that most experts believe inflation is going to be significantly higher as we continue to go through the summer. And you all know from going into stores and buying things and existing on planet Earth that prices are not down. We know that. So Donald Trump can continue to lie about everything, but we know when we leave the house that he's absolutely lying. Then Donald Trump attacks Spain because Spain doesn't want to increase their defense spending. So he goes, I'm working on a trade deal with them. I'm going to make them pay twice as much. Okay, tough guy. What an idiot. Here, play this clip.
Okay, we'll do 1 or 2 more.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
A question on Spain. Are you satisfied with today?
Oh, I think Spain's terrible what they've done. No, I do. They're the only country that won't pay the full up. They want to stay at 2%. I think it's terrible. And, they're doing very well. The economy is very well. And that economy could be blown right out of the water with something bad happening. Spain is the only country that... Are you from Spain?
Yeah.
Good, congratulations. You're the only country that is not paying. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's too bad. So we'll make it up. You know what we're going to do? We're negotiating with Spain on a trade deal. we're going to make them pay twice as much. And I'm actually serious about that. We're going to make Spain, I like Spain. I have so many people from Spain that it's a great place and they're great people. But Spain is the only country out of all of the countries that refuses to pay. And, you know, so they want a little bit of a free ride, but they'll have to pay it back to us on trade because I'm not going to let that happen. It's unfair. It's unfair to NATO. All right, sir, please. Go ahead, right in the back. Yeah, you tall one. The tall man.
Then Donald Trump waxes poetic about how the Defense Department should really be called the War Department. And he goes, I'm going to introduce Pete Hegseth to all of you, the Secretary of War. Let's call it the Secretary of War, he says.
I have, as you know, Marco Rubio with me and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State and Secretary of War. Should we say Secretary? You know, it used to be called Secretary of War. Maybe for a couple of weeks we'll call it that because we feel like warriors. Used to be called Secretary of War. In fact, if you look at the old building next to the White House, you can see where it used to be Secretary of War. Then we became politically correct, and they called it Secretary of Defense. I don't know, maybe we'll have to start thinking about changing it, but we feel that way. Do we have any questions, please? Wow.
And then you have Pete Hegseth. This is just a total embarrassment right here. He goes to the media as though like he's like acting in some like corny, weird movie, right? Like straight, we would call it growing up, straight to DVD type of movie. He's like, if you, the media, want to make an assessment of what happened at those nuclear facilities, you better get a big shovel and start digging. This is so stupid. These are just dumb people. What idiots. Here, play this clip.
Meeting for a tactical reason with President Putin.
Let him answer this one.
Hello, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah. There's a reason the president calls out fake news for what it is. These pilots, these refuelers, these fighters, these air defenders, the skill and the courage it took to go into enemy territory flying 36 hours on behalf of the American people and the world to take out a nuclear program is beyond what anyone in this audience can fathom. And then the instinct of CNN, the instinct of the New York Times is to try to find a way to spin it for their own political reasons to try to hurt President Trump or our country. They don't care what the troops think. They don't care what the world thinks. They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak. Of course, we've all seen plenty of leakers. And what do leakers do? They have agendas. And what do? Do they share the whole information or just the part that they want to introduce? And when they introduce that preliminary report that's deemed to be a low assessment, you know what a low assessment means? Low confidence in the data in that report. And why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated. And somebody somewhere is trying to leak something to say, oh, with low confidence, we think maybe it's moderate. Those that drop the bombs precisely in the right place know exactly what happened when that exploded. And you know who else knows? Iran. That's why they came to the table right away, because their nuclear capabilities have been set back beyond what they thought were possible because of the courage of a commander-in-chief who led our troops, despite what the fake news wants to say.
But you're not disputing the...
So also we learned today that U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has announced that the Pentagon, along with the FBI, is launching a criminal investigation into the leaks surrounding the classified report on the ineffectiveness of last weekend's U.S. strikes against Iran that was completed by the Pentagon's Defense Intelligence Agency and based on a battle damage assessment done by the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM. And this information was leaked to CNN, Fox, NBC, and the New York Times, and others. And again, it came from both CENTCOM and DIA. So the fact that our own intelligence community is saying that these strikes were not effective, how is the Trump regime responding? The White House this morning is sending to reporters a statement by the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission that claims the U.S. strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. Even as Barack Ravid says, this is a highly unusual case of the White House releasing a statement on behalf of a foreign security agency, the Israeli security agency. This statement was not even distributed by Israel. Trump's what, the spokesperson for the Israeli International Agency? It's so ridiculous. By the way, we have on MeidasNews.com and go to MeidasPlus.com. Didn't Donald Trump once say that Iran oil sales finance terror, and now he's allowing it? Didn't Trump once warn that China's oil purchases made Iran rich and fueled terror? Now he calls it a great honor. You heard him there. Do you remember when Donald Trump said that Russia was offering to mediate the Iran dispute? If you were Russia and you were mediating the Iran situation, wouldn't you want the outcome to be exactly what the outcome is right now? No deal over denuclearization with Iran. They still have their nuclear weapons, and now they sell cheap oil to China. Sounds like a home run. What are we even talking about here? Well, there you have it, folks. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. What a disaster at the NATO summit, though. You tell me what you think. You heard him. You heard him yourself. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thank you for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.